Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest episode of Tales from Outer Space, taken from the subreddit HFY. The links to all the stories will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. And if you do, please consider subscribing. Story number 1, How Diplomatic, written by daeomec. The alien invasion couldn't wait until the end of the year. I was 2 months away from the cushy ambassadorship to a resort world. 2 months. But no, those bastards had to retort their plan from the galactic domination just before I retired. Which was why I had been woken up at 2 a.m. by blaring sirens and a military escort. Wonderful. Assistant Secretary, said a stern-faced soldier. Normally, young people in my bedroom were a cause for celebration, but I had a feeling that he wouldn't take kindly to the proposition. There's an emergency. Well, isn't that nice? I hadn't guessed at all. I stumbled out of bed and grabbed my fuzzy bathrobe. Now give me a moment to change. There's no time, come this way. Thus, I was manhandled out of my quarters and shoved into a nice armored vehicle. So, I drawled out, wrinkling my nose at the grey interior of the car. What's the emergency? He didn't respond. At this point, the sleep had almost left me, and the nerves were beginning to kick in. If the cookie-cutter soldiers, ones that were different from the usual bodyguards, were refusing to share even gossip, then it was more serious than I thought. I shifted in place. The Venom or Enov haven't attacked, have they? The Venom Aronov, or the group of psychopathic alien warlords, had quickly burned their way across the Node galaxy. The Goyge and the North Central Confederation had already fallen, but there were a few more civilizations between them and us. At least, there had been a few civilizations between us. As expected, the soldiers didn't respond. We soon arrived at the planetary military base, and I was again manhandled through the dusty hallways and to a very tense-looking war room. Assistant Secretary Lucia Weber, sneered the brass-covered man in the front of the room. Thank you for joining us. He looked at my fuzzy robe up and down. His frown grew bigger. I appreciate it, General Collins. I snagged a coffee from the terrified baby intern. What's going on? I took my seat to my colleague Vasilov, the Assistant Secretary of Political Military Affairs. He grunted at me. I grunted back. The Oyi Republic has fallen. The ambassador has been taken hostage, and they have already declared war on us. The general looked unexpectedly solemn. The worst-case scenario has been realized. The Venom Aronov have likely to attack humanity in less than a week. My head snapped back to the front of the room at that. Well, frick. Everyone had erupted into a cacophony. We should declare war, declared one over-enthusiastic colonel. Are you crazy? Vasilov shouted back. He had enough coffee to make him talkative. They'll eat us alive. The Venom Al-Nahab's military capability is more than 10 times ours. I flipped through the dossier on the Venom Al-Nahab, but I didn't find anything new, probably because I'd written it. I'd spent the last few months frantically gathering information on them, and everything I'd learned I'd let me put to one conclusion. If the Venom Al-Nahab were here in some ways similar to humans, except that they were way more terrifying, exceptionally terrifying. If I was to take my deepest, darkest nightmares and stick them on steroids, it still wouldn't be as scary as the Venom Al-Nahab. 15 feet tall, incredibly fast, incredibly strong, with claws, venom, and teeth. That wouldn't make a saber-toothed tiger weep. They were lethal killing machines. Their home world was the definition of a death world, but that wasn't the worst of it. It was actually pretty par for the universe. What made the Venom Aronov scary was the fact that they were smart. All their intellect had been focused into one thing: war. Us humans might have written The Art of War, but their children could come up with tactics that would put Sun Tzu to shame. Even worse, their weaponry was crazy advanced. As I said, they were like us. The Venom Aronov had nukes before they had spaceflight.
Actually, they had antimatter weaponry before they had spaceflight. Hell, they didn't even have spaceflight until the Goij had was stupid enough to give it to them. The Goij. They always did have their heads up their 15 rears. It's a miracle that they had fallen to natural selection sooner. The Wenham Ernahov took the stars like a shock to water, and they immediately began eating all the little fish in the ocean, and we were next. For once in our existence, our smartest minds of humanity, military people, diplomats and scientists alike, all agreed on one thing. We were utterly and royally wrecked. The argument had died down. Some stared blankly, others fidgeted in place, and a few people were crying. "So what do we do now?" murmured the same coffeeless intern, voice quavering. I closed my eyes. "We could try negotiating." That ended the stupor. Everyone began all talking all at once, some in fervor, some not. Vasilev, who was of vehement agreement, was just about to throw his mug across the room, while the colonel looked just about ready to have an aneurysm. The general laughed. His booming voice cut across the noise. "We might as well," he mused. "Boys thick with dark humor. We don't have any other options. Well, Madam Secretary, I'm sure you'd appreciate leading the delegation, unless there's any objections." He looked around the room, and I did too. I tried to catch the eye of my boss, but he was studiously looking the other direction. Coward. I gritted my teeth. Sure, why not? Damn, I just postponed my retirement, hadn't I? "They're gonna kill us. They're gonna eat us all," Ambassador Araz stated, screaming incoherently as several OE were ripped apart. "We have to be sure—" I snapped my fingers and the recording stopped. "Well," I said mildly, "that was what is at stake. Unless you want to be the next poor fools that want to be killed as an example, then we better study the crap out of them. We've negotiated good deals before. There's no reason we can't do it again. Other than the fact that they're a bloodthirsty, violent race that rampage through known galactic civilization," the colonel scoffed. "I doubt that asking them nicely will keep the winner, Ernahov, from killing us." I shrugged. "Has anyone tried?" Everyone was silent for a moment. "Well," said Vasilev slowly, "the Goij gave them spaceships and tried to make them slaves. Then the Wenham Ernahov slaughtered them all and made them slaves." I frowned. The North Central Confederation declared war on them immediately after, since they were allies of the Goij. The OE ruling council fled, and there was no government capable of negotiating when the Wenham Ernahov showed up, piped in the intern. We stared at each other. Even the war-hungry colonel seemed thoughtful. "There's no harm in trying," I said finally. "It's not like we can make things worse." I clapped my hands, feeling hopeful for the first time since the morning. "We have 7 days before they arrive. All right, team? Let's get to work." My team and I used the week to study everything about the Wenham Ernahov. What they needed, what they ate, what they liked, everything. We pieced together their language and customs from their videos, and every single person in the delegation was fluent in Wenham Ernahov by the time they landed on the mothership. The human treatment, as I like to call it, was standard course of whatever we encountered in new alien species. This time, we did it with a little more desperation than usual. Know your enemy, am I right? After our tiny, unarmed shuttle landed in the enormous Wenham Ernahov mothership, we were roughly grabbed and shoved to the grand greeting room of their warlord. The man bared his fangs at us, shutting out his lower jaw. I suddenly knew how prey felt when they smiled at them. "Weak, not strong humans," mumbled the warlord, "will be received with peace, not danger, but for little, not long. Why would we treat you with mercy, not war?" The Wenham Ernahov spoke in the language of opposites. Almost every adjective and the occasional noun was accompanied by the negation of its antonym, hence the slashes. It was weird, but whatever. Chinese was harder to learn, as simply the dialogue of little of for convenience, not too much, because, frick you, suffer along with me. I stuck out my own lower jaw, feeling stupid and uncomfortable, and tilted my head to expose my neck, Slowly, I sank to my knees, and the members of the delegation did the same. Oh, merciful, not cruel warlord, I simpered back, taking care to growl the words. Your honor, not shame, displays the intellect, not stupidity. Hence we come to you, crouched down like the weak, not strong creatures that we are. Will you deign to share drink and bread, so that we may discuss the terms, not demands, of our joining, not war? I'd used the ritual opening of the weaker tribes used when joining a stronger one. It was a gamble, since I'd stolen it from one of the winner Nahab's TV shows. The warlord stared at us for a moment, then he began stamping his feet against the chair, hooting with what I hoped was glee, or at least amusement. These weak, not strong humans know where they stand. Welcome no threat, and eat, so that we may discuss the joining, not war. The next night I called the president from the Wenham Nahab's ship, trying to ignore my fierce hangover. Hello, I mumbled in the long-distance comms. Madam President, we've come to an agreement with the Wenham Nahab. The president's normally frosty tone was taut with apprehension. Well, what are the terms? We aren't going to war, are we? No, thankfully. They've agreed to accept a peaceful, non-violent surrender. What do they want? Disarmament, said a different, raspy voice. Ah, so it was a conference call. Lovely. With the pounding of my head, I'd have difficulty distinguishing the voices. I shook my head, forgetting that they couldn't see me. No, I replied belatedly. We can keep our weapons. New leadership, the president, or was that the general, didn't sound happy, which made sense considering that she'd be the one to lose out. Don't worry, Madam President, you can keep your job. The rest of you can too. My boss spoke up now. His high-pitched voice cut through my fog of my head. We aren't slaves, are we? Don't tell me we're going to be slaves of the Gardaí. I couldn't help but smile. Nope, we retain our planet and our freedom. Then what are the terms? Snapped the president. Well, I may have pushed it a little too far. I decided to take pity and tell them everything. I'd be too tense too if I didn't know the fate of my species. We're vassals. We'll pay a tribute to the Wenham Nahab every year for a decade, and then we're raised to full clan status, which means equal rights for us and multiple eyes in the Wenham Nahab. There's short silence. That's it. What's the catch? What do they want for tribute? The general seemed a bit skeptical. Well, really skeptical. I didn't really blame him. If I hadn't lived it myself, I wouldn't have believed it. A bit of money and natural resources, I yawned, still exhausted from last night. If there was one thing that the Wenham Nahab did better than warmongering, it was partying. The deal they gave us is a standard for the Wenham Nahab vassal clans. They normally ask for soldiers too, but they want something different from us. I paused for dramatic effect, which was ruined by the second yawn. The people on the other end weren't as amused, but I'd saved the humanity, Subi. What is it? Said my boss, resigned in my attitude. They want us to be the ambassadors and negotiate with other governments and species for surrender. Apparently, most species are too intimidated to properly talk with the Wenham Nahab, and we seem to have a knack for it. They were really impressed by us. Hell, they were really impressed by Ambassador Roz, despite the whole screaming thing. He's on the ship, you know. Another silence. Man, was I on a roll. You're telling me they gave us all the phenomenal deal because they were impressed by how we surrendered, the president said slowly. Of course. Why wouldn't they? I smiled. We asked nicely. End of story.
I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. If you wish to support the author, there is a link to the original story, so pop over there and give him your support. If you wish to support this channel, however, there are a few ways to do so. The best and easiest would be to share this video with other people, as well as liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. All of these things tell the algorithm that this channel is at least vaguely interesting, and that may share it with other people. If you wish to support the channel in some other manner, watching my other videos would also help tremendously. Or, if you really like, there is a link down below to leave a tip or to join the Patreon. Any and all support is very much appreciated, and I hope that you all have a good one until the next time, and I'll see you then. Cheers.